On today's show, there's been rumors, rumblings, maybe just thoughts that Kyrie Irving would be traded, but the Dallas Mavericks aren't going to do it. I'll tell you why.
This is Cooper Flagg, and you're listening to Locked On Mavs.
Nothing as important as winning in sports. All about winning. And we will win in Dallas.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, guys.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
All these changes.
Your team every day.
You know, I still got my dog Dwight Powell.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt. On today's show, I want to talk about Kyrie Irving, why he would want to stay with the Dallas Mavericks, because there's a lot of talk about him. We'll talk about some of the rumors, maybe just rumblings, maybe just not even rumbling, maybe just out loud thoughts of some people saying that Kyrie Irving will get traded, and sift through some of those things. And then I want to get into some NBA draft rumors. There's a bunch of other rumors around the draft, and we'll talk about some of the ones that the Mavs should care about. We'll get into all that. Well, let's start here. There have been talks, tweets, comments, Reddit posts, I don't know, what about Kyrie Irving, about how he is going to get traded. Oh, you don't even know. Kyrie's not even going to be on this team anymore. I mean, what are you even talking about? Why are you guys even talking about Kyrie Irving? What's the point? He's not even going to be on this team anymore. And Mark Stein did report at one point, he said there is an anticipation league-wide that the Mavericks are likely to receive trade interest in Kyrie Irving this offseason. Okay? This is smokescreen season right now, especially right before the draft. We're a couple weeks away from the NBA draft. And we just have the combine where there's a lot of rumors and information shared between people. We have had the lottery where there's information and stuff shared between people. We've had now all these draft workouts with people where agents are getting with other teams. They're pitching their guy and they're like, all right, well, you're pitching your guy. Now tell me something about what this other team is doing and all that. And information is just spreading all over the place. And so Kyrie Irving receiving trade interest from across the league is not surprising. Of course, everything that you know that is good about Kyrie Irving, another team can see that that is good about Kyrie Irving. The fact that Kyrie Irving is now the undisputed leader of this Dallas Mavericks team, that he has been nothing but professional. He has been incredible to work with. He has been great for this whole franchise. He was the only voice of reason during the whole Luka trade saga. He was the mouthpiece of the organization at a certain point. The fact that he has, been an ambassador, the fact that he has been an idol or a mentor figure to some of the Mavericks players. And also, the last time we saw him play, he was an all-star. Very good player. Of course, there's going to be trade interest in Kyrie Irving. You also have to try to read through the tea leaves and be like, all right, of course, let's look through. If I'm the Mavericks and I look at another team and I go, all right, what's a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, then that is not very good and will probably sell off their players, right? We look at these teams all the time. Oh, the Pelicans. The Pelicans must be selling off all their guys, right? Oh, look at the Bucks. Oh, the Bucks are probably going to trade Giannis, so they're going to sell off all their other guys. The Mavericks are looked at as a team that is like that. They've got Cooper Flagg. They must be going for the future, and they don't need Kyrie Irving, who's an older guard. It just is logical that you would look at the Mavericks and say that they would trade Kyrie Irving. But that's not what's going to happen. At least I don't think so. From everything that we've seen, heard, I think they're going to start the season with Kyrie Irving on the team. And I think that's the right move. I think you could look at the Mavericks and say, oh, it makes logical sense that they should trade Kyrie. But that's not what I see. And I don't think that's what you see. And I don't think that's what the Mavericks see. And I don't think that's what Masai, Ujiri, and Mike Schmitz see. The only real concrete thing we have about, I think, another player on the roster besides Cooper Flagg from Masai Ujiri is that quote that he said about Kyrie Irving and Cooper Flagg. We owe it to the organization to see those guys play together. I think that, of all things, is a guarantee that those guys are going to start the season on the same team. If we're taking anything else, I'm taking that. And so you read a report from a Mark Stein that says there's anticipation league-wide that the Mavs are likely to receive trade interest in Kyrie Irving this offseason. And sure, there can be interest. Sure, there's anticipation from the league. That also doesn't mean it's going to happen. Anticipation from the league, the whole league anticipated Luka to not be traded. And guess what? He did. The whole league anticipated, I don't know, there's a great many things. The Mavericks did not get the number 1 overall pick last year, and they did. And receiving trade interest, here's another thing that I like to remind people every day during the offseason like this. Every team is calling every other team about every player. as a front office member, this was something I learned at a thing I went to called the Sports Business Classroom, where we heard from a bunch of different people, a bunch of GMs. Actually, Rick Carlisle spoke. A bunch of different people came and spoke. People from front offices. Adam Silver came and talked to us and just give you an idea of what their job is like, what their world is like. Some people leave Sports Business Classroom and they work in media, like I did. Some people leave and they go to work in the front office. I know some people that have left there and are now in working for teams on a bunch of different fronts, on doing a bunch of different things. And one of the things that I learned going through that, hearing all these different people, was that everybody's talking to everybody about everybody all the time. There's always like interest. There's always like, hey, what would it take? What would it take for us to get Kyrie Irving? Like, what would it take for you guys to trade Kyrie Irving? It's a conversation that probably happens all the time between front office members. And so that can be reported as interest if the person reporting it expects, well, it makes logical sense that Kyrie would be traded. So of course, all right, I'm going to take this. Hey, we talked about Kyrie Irving with them. Like, I'll take that as an actual rumor. But that happens all the time. Teams also gauge value on players all the time. The example that I like to use is the Kristaps Porzingis example. Donnie Nelson had a relationship with that front office, and they had talked about Kristaps Porzingis for a year, maybe, like before that. They had conversations, knew what the price was for him. The Knicks knew what the price the Mavericks were willing to pay was. And so when it happened that day, boom, they got on a call and boom, he was traded because they already had done the legwork. They already had done the talks about it. It doesn't mean all these guys are going to get traded, right? I'm sure teams ask all the time about different players for the Mavericks. And people don't, like the reporters like Stein and others don't report it because it's all just like noise. Just because somebody is receiving interest doesn't mean that it's actually out there and going to happen. But Stein saying there's anticipation league-wide is saying that other executives are like, yeah, well, of course they're going to trade Kyrie Irving. It doesn't make sense for him to be on the team. And that's their opinion. But my opinion, I think your opinion as a Mavs fan, and I think the Mavericks' opinion is that we want to see this played out. We want to see Cooper Flagg play with Kyrie Irving. I think it's going to be better for his game to play with somebody as smart as him, who has played off of as big of stars as him with Luka and LeBron and Kevin Durant. I think that it's better for him to play with a leader on the court. The Mavs didn't play with a leader on the court this past year. And I think it'd be better for Cooper Flagg to have that experience. I also think that the assets that the Mavs would get for Kyrie Irving are not going to be as valuable to the Mavericks as Kyrie Irving playing for the team. The Mavericks don't need to be bad next year. The Mavericks need to kind of be good. They don't have control of their own draft pick. It's protected 1-2, 1 and 2. Which if the flat odds is like I don't know, what is it, like a 16% chance if they're one of the worst teams in the NBA? It's like, oh, that's not great. That's not good. 16 is not terrible. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's not something you bet your season on. It's not something you blow up your season for. And I think that Kyrie Irving, the intangibles, the things that he brings to a franchise, the leadership and everything, I think is more valuable to the Mavericks than a random first round pick or a random young player or another like star that's injured, because you do have to think about it. He is a 34-year-old smaller guard coming off of an ACL injury. Those guys don't get tended to be traded for a lot of things, right? And I'm sure other GMs are also looking at it and saying he could probably be had for a lower price because he's a 34-year-old small guard coming off of an ACL injury, right? Like, I think that they probably think that. And so then in turn, the anticipation league-wide that the Mavericks are likely to receive trade interest in Kyrie Irving. But to me, from what Masai said, from the logic of keeping Kyrie is more valuable to the Mavericks than any other kind of asset, I think they keep Kyrie Irving. I think he stays on the team, at least to start the season. During the season, as trade deadline, I don't know. Maybe that's a call that gets made later. Maybe that's something that Kyrie Irving goes to them and talks about it at some point during the season. But from everything that we've heard, Kyrie has not made that call yet. Kyrie also has a player option at the end of next season. So he's got 1 year, making $39.4 million this upcoming year, and then a $42 million player option for the season after that. And so the contract does play into account here as well. I think the Mavericks keep Kyrie Irving to start the season. We'll see what happens during the season, but I think that's the right call for the Mavericks to make, and it seems like that's the one they're going to make. Coming up, why would Kyrie Irving want to stay? Why would he want to stay? That's another question I'm getting, and I see a lot. I'll tell you why coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is all kinds of things that you can use to get in on the action. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets when you bet on the NBA playoffs. Go check out all the stuff they have. They've got stuff for game 2. They've got stuff for the NBA finals. Spurs, 6.5-point favorite. Wasn't it 5.5 yesterday? Spurs got another point. Maybe they heard Victor Wembanyama's quotes and were like, "Oh, let's give these guys another point." Maybe it's a Brunson injury thing that they know about that we don't know about. All kinds of different things. Finals MVP Brunson plus 100, our guy, and then Victor Wembanyama plus 120. Towns plus 1100. That's not bad right now. Dylan Harper plus 15,000. I mean, he was pretty good game 1. You can do all kinds of things. Like I said, you bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. It's FanDuel. Play your game. We're also brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash. Postseason is heating up, and DoorDash is a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag, and with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. You know what's the worst is having not fresh gear. You got to have fresh gear because if your gear is not fresh, then what is it? What is it really? There are nights when your team stresses you out. There are nights when you're watching the NBA Finals. Like I was in game 1, and I was like, I don't really have a dog in the fight here. I kind of want Brunson to win, but then it would be pretty cool to see like a historic Wemby rise. Maybe I'm not rooting for that, actually. I think about it. But when you do that, and I was still finding myself being stressed out at the end of that game. Who's going to pull this through? What? You let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you need that dessert right now. You get that delivered with DoorDash. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call our listeners, listening every single day like you. If you're listening on June 5th, where the Mavericks are not playing still and the draft is a ways away, I salute you and I appreciate you and I love each and every one of you. Subscribe to the text line. Isaac will do Q&As on there. We'll answer questions. We'll send reports. Like there was a bunch of coaching rumors that Isaac's going to talk about a little bit later today on the show. And we sent thoughts on those, sent thoughts on some of these draft rumors and things like that. So subscribe to the text line. There's a link in the description. There's the number right there. If you're watching on the screen, there's the number. There it goes. 214-643-8637. Or check the QR code. All right, Isaac, let's get into more about Kyrie Irving. So the other question that is paired with why would the Mavs keep Kyrie, or what do you think? What do you mean Kyrie's still going to be on the Mavericks is why would Kyrie want to stay? And I think we can walk through some of the logic on why Kyrie Irving would want to stay with the Mavericks, because if you're Kyrie Irving, this has been your career. Highly touted number 1 pick coming out of Duke. Didn't play at Duke a lot because he was injured. I think he played like 12 games or something like that. Comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and in the wake of LeBron leaving to go to Miami, right? You're playing on this team that's just absolutely terrible. I think I remember seeing Kyrie Irving and the Cavs play in Cincinnati in a preseason game when I was growing up. And you just watch the team and you go, man, Kyrie is fun to watch and it was cool to see him, but like, ooh, the rest of this team is just not good at all. Then LeBron decides to come back. You're now second fiddle to LeBron James. You go to the NBA Finals like 4 times in a row. You have these moments where you are playing in the finals, or you're injured, or then you hit one of the greatest shots in NBA history. You're a legend in all this. Your star is rising. You're doing Uncle Drew commercials. You're also then an Uncle Drew movie comes out, and you're a signature athlete for Nike, and you're one of the top selling shoes. It's like him and Paul George, and like for some reason those are the 2 guys that sell the most shoes. Like your star is rising, and then all of a sudden you get traded to Boston, or you go to Boston and it doesn't work out for you there, and you say you're going to stay, and then you don't, and then you get traded to, right? He got traded to Brooklyn, or he signed in Brooklyn. Anyway, you end up in Brooklyn, and then all of a sudden things aren't going your way. You got, Kevin Durant steps on toes on the line, James Harden is there, and then COVID happens, and then all of a sudden things are coming up, and you're becoming a controversy, and there's you're not playing home games because of his decision to not want to get the COVID vaccine. And then all of a sudden there's stories, and then he's going back and forth with the media, and then all of a sudden you're like, hold on, wait, I was this like star that everybody loved, and then Now he's like a controversial figure. And I remember when the Mavericks traded for him, there was a lot of people, including myself, that were kind of like, I don't know if we want this guy. He's kind of, I think I called him a flight risk at one point when the Mavericks traded for him, because he had been a guy that had asked out of several different locations, that had asked out of places, that wanted to play his career on his terms, and that his terms changed from month to month or year to year or whatever like that. And now you're Kyrie Irving, and you've completely changed the narrative on yourself. Whether that narrative before was fair or not, you can decide that for yourself. But you've completely changed the narrative. You've become now the undisputed leader of this Dallas Mavericks team. You go to the NBA Finals with Luka, and you're like back on top. Like, oh my gosh, boom, here we are. He is a beloved teammate, which I think he's been a beloved teammate this whole time. I don't think that's something that's changed. But you do all that. Then Luka Doncic gets traded. And now you're like the mouthpiece of this organization. Anthony Davis is coming in. Nico is making this pitch like, hey, I want to see Kyrie and Anthony Davis play together. And then we get the Houston half where they only play one half, and then we don't get to see it ever again because Kyrie is out with injury. Anthony Davis is out with injury. You tear your ACL, and now you're like, oh my gosh. If I'm Kyrie Irving, I want stability in my life. You've got everything else. He's won at the highest level. Maybe he wants to win more. And maybe he wants to go, but I don't think he's so desperate like a Ray Allen at the end of his career that he goes to the Celtics and tries to latch onto a team to do that. Or, some of these other stars, Gary Payton going to Miami at the end of his career. I don't think he's at that point. He's already won at the highest level, right? He's already hit one of the greatest shots in NBA history. He's already been to the finals multiple times. And so maybe that's enough. Maybe he wants more, but I don't think he's so desperate that he needs to go win to go prove something. I think he's proven everything. He's legendary as one of the greatest, ball handlers of all time. And so if you're Kyrie, what do you want in your career? You want stability. You want a place where you're valued. You want a place where you're not going to be put up as like, oh, it's, Kyrie is the problem on this team. I think that will not happen with this Mavericks team. I can't imagine a scenario where we're like, Kyrie is the problem, right? Because he's the vet in the room. Everybody listens to his voice. At what point in Kyrie's career did he get to that point? Because I don't think it was like that in Boston. I think he thought it might be like that in Boston, that he would be the vet in the room and that everybody would listen to him. But I don't think that's what happened. In Brooklyn, it was like him and KD and Harden. So I was like, all right, well, now I guess I'm kind of the vet in the room, but he's not the vet in the room. And I think both Kyrie and Klay Thompson, we heard quotes from Klay Thompson too, where he goes, man, these guys listen to me. Like, it's kind of nice being the vet in the room, being the adult in the room, being the champion that everybody looks up to and is asking all this stuff about. And it's kind of nice for guys that have been their whole career with playing their whole career with peers and other vets that they went to now be the vet. And for Kyrie Irving, I think that's something that you desire in your career. You start over, with a new star next to you in Cooper Flagg. I think there's some things that he could, obviously Cooper Flagg can learn from Kyrie Irving. But if you're Kyrie Irving, I think that's something that you desire in your career is stability. And I think he's found it in Dallas in a weird way. I don't look at the Mavericks and think stability right now, but for Kyrie, you probably do. And he seems to be happy here. And you know what? At the end of the day, they're all humans and people too, and they want happiness in their life. And if Kyrie is not happy and he goes to the Mavericks and asks for a trade, I think they would give him one. And the fact that hasn't happened yet, the fact that all these changes,
and I still got my dog Dwight Powell
and Kyrie Irving.
It's great, dude. It's great. It's great, broski. Bro, name it. It's great. It's great, bro. It's great. This life's great, bro. I have no complaints. I don't.
Is fine by me, and I think you too. I think Mavs fans all want to keep Kyrie around. They see the value in him. And I don't think a random draft pick or a random role player or salary relief or something is worth moving off of Kyrie Irving at this point. And I think Kyrie Irving would want to stay. And that's my theory for why I think he would want to stay. Coming up, let's get into some draft rumors. There's a bunch of random ones. What matters for the Mavericks? I've got one specific one. I just don't know how much I trust it, but we'll talk about it all together coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Quo. If you got missed calls, slow follow-ups, they're silent killers for businesses. That's how money gets left on the table. You don't want to leave money on the table. You want to take your money and pick it up off the table. and just throw it in the air at a certain point. That's what you want to do. Quo helps businesses keep every conversation organized by letting your entire team manage calls and texts from one shared number. No more drop messages, missed opportunities, or disconnected communication. It's designed for how modern businesses actually operate, not just, you're trying to pick up things here and there and trying to figure out what's going on. You want your money to actually be given to you by clients in a like direct way, where everything is managed cleanly and you're able to bring that client back and not have to worry about all this other stuff. Money is on the line, so say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA to get Quo, where you share one clean thread of calls, texts, voicemails, so your entire team can see this conversation. Nothing falls through the cracks. You have AI summaries as well if you want to check that out. So it's QUO.com, Quo.com/LockedOnNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, let's get into the NBA draft rumors that I've been hearing. These are like, there's in the NBA right now, there are certain rumors. You go a Stein, a Shams, a Chris Haynes, there's a couple that I'm forgetting probably, but there's like the top dog reporters where you're like, all right, if they say something, it's basically gospel. Like Shams at this point, if he says something, he's been wrong about a few things here and there, but when he says something, it's probably going to happen. He doesn't do the, like, I'm hearing that this is necessarily happened that often. But then there's like a bunch of people like me and Isaac that like, we hear stuff and we're reporters, but we will say stuff every once in a while. And here's one I think that's kind of like that. This guy, Adam Finkelstein from CBS, who is plugged into the draft. And this is another thing, is there are NBA reporters and then there are draft reporters. Our guys from No Ceilings, they hear stuff all the time because teams go to them to ask stuff about these draft prospects. Believe you me. That's why we have them on. That's why we hired them. That's why we trust what they say, because these guys know all these players and the teams ask them about stuff. And guys like Mike Schmitz get hired, right? Because they know all these draft prospects, they do the work and all this stuff that it takes to be in the front office. So guy like Adam Finkelstein can be a draft reporter, not necessarily an NBA reporter. It's maybe why you haven't heard the name before. He says about Brayden Burries, my guy, it sounds to me, or at least there's growing evidence, this is where Brayden Burries and his representatives want to be, talking about the Dallas Mavericks. Brayden Burries is represented by Clutch and Rich Paul, and I think there's a lot of traction here, especially when you talk about a player who's got interest from teams higher up in the draft and working him out, but has yet to go to many of these workouts. I think Brayden Burries wants to be in Dallas. I think he wants to play with Cooper Flagg, and I think his representatives are going to try and get this done. This is definitely a bigger conversation that Isaac and I will have at some point, but this is one of the only direct quotes or reports we've seen about the Mavericks and the draft. And Isaac and I both heard players at the Combine that were angling to try and come to Dallas. You heard Michael Brown say that Dallas was his favorite city in the country. I think Labaron Philon also mentioned that he wanted to be in Dallas, and that would be a good spot for him in his Combine interview. But Brayden Burries specifically trying to angle his way by not going to some of his workouts, that's pretty juicy. That's pretty interesting. That's a rumor the Mavericks should care about, for sure. I like Brayden Burries. I just did an episode with Albert Gim of No Ceilings about Brayden Burries, and the big thing that stood out to me in that conversation was the thing that he said about his upside. That Brayden Burries is listed as this like safe candidate, this safe prospect, which is something that I've said about him, because he's versatile, he's defensive, he's doesn't make a ton of mistakes, he's a good rebounder, he's like a solid shooter, not doesn't take like a ton of risky shots, and you're like, all right, it's a safe prospect the Mavs could take. But then he talked about, hey, he's got real upside too. Like I asked him point blank, I said, could you imagine Brayden Burries sometime in his career being an All-NBA player? He said, yes, absolutely. Didn't even have to think about it a second thought. And so Brayden Burries angling to the Mavericks is great. And it also says something about the Mavericks as an organization. It should be an organization that players want to go to. You've got Cooper Flagg, and so you're not like going to be asked to be the number one guy, which there's a lot of responsibility on that. You can maybe ride the coattails of the number one guy, which is something that I saw somebody on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but point out that, hey, Rich Paul's really smart. He takes all of his non-star level players and attaches them to stars and gets them paid. You know what? It's fair. It's a fair tactic. If you're an agent, you probably do the same thing. Another rumor that I think the Mavs should care about is this stuff about Nate Ament right now. Nate Ament, the wing big, 6'10" shooter from Tennessee. Jonathan Gavoni from Draft Express said this on Colin Cowherd's show. He said, I think all those guys, Wagler, Burries, Flemings, Acuff, will all be usurped on draft night by Nate Ament. I think Michael Brown is the guy that will go 5 or 6 in my view. We'll have another rumor about that. And then Nate Ament and then Adai Mara. I think very much in conversation to go 6, 7, 8 range. I could see these 3 guys pushing down an Acuff, a Wagler, Kingston Flemings. That is fascinating. I think there has been random rumblings about the Nets and Nate Ament that is a player that they would be interested in. But Nate Ament has been a guy that people and teams have talked about at a certain point. And he's got this upside where you're like, all right, a 6'10" big that can move so fluidly, so mobile. You get why that would be something that would be desirable. And a team could talk themselves into it, especially a team that needs to bet like on a big upside. And I think the Nets are a team that needs to bet on big upside right now. Adai Mara, 7'3". People watching Wemby right now and are going, hey, we need somebody to combat that guy. How about a really good defensive 7'3" center that can also pass really well and potentially shoot? I don't think the potential to shoot is there, but. And so Gavoni says Nate Ament and Adai Mara are two players that could go basically above the Mavericks, where most mocks as of right now that I've seen have both those guys going after the Mavericks at 9. So the Mavs should care about that one because that means that we've been saying, all right, at least one of Michael Brown, Acuff, Wagler, Kingston Flemings, Brayden Burries are going to fall to the Mavericks. We're guaranteed that because of how the draft is going to go. But if Adai Mara and Nate Ament go above the Mavericks, then you get 2 of Acuff, Wagler, Michael Brown, Kingston Flemings, Burries. And with this, Gavoni saying that Michael Brown goes higher than the Mavericks. So that means you get your pick of 2 of these guys. Darius Acuff, Keaton Wagler, Kingston Flemings, Brayden Burries. 2 of those players will fall to the Mavericks if this is true. Fascinating. I've heard some rumblings that Sacramento will take Acuff if he's there. And I think I believe that. And I think that there's no way Acuff makes it to the Mavericks at 9. And I think I think Mavericks fans, I think you have accepted that if you've been following the draft. I've definitely accepted that. We haven't really talked about Acuff that much because you look at the Nets and you look at the Kings and the Nets and you say, well, I don't think Acuff's going to fall past those guys. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to pass on him. He's got the star power. He's got the upside. I'm not sold on the defense, but that's their decision to make. And it doesn't seem like the Mavericks are going to be in a position to make that unless they trade up. And I don't see that as it. 2 more. Michael Brown, Kevin O'Connor reported that the most common name mentioned by league sources for LA Clippers draft spot number 5 is Louisville guard Michael Brown Jr. Saddens me. I really like Michael Brown. I think that he's a really good prospect. I think he's a really good high upside player. And Albert Kim from No Ceilings also told a story about Michael Brown that after he was done interviewing with them on No Ceilings, they do like a film room thing. It's pretty cool on their YouTube channel. He gave his mom a piggyback ride on the way out the door to prove that his back was good, which is so funny. And Michael Brown going higher than the Mavericks that stinks, but it means one of Kingston Flemings, Burries, and Wagler fall farther down. And then the Mara and the Nate Ament stuff are up there as well. Kevin O'Connor also reported that a few weeks ago, I reported the Nets were drawn to Nate Ament and Adai Mara. That remains true as we enter June. So that's 2 reports, Gavoni and Kevin O'Connor. So believe one or the other, but there's smoke about Nate Ament and Adai Mara to the Nets. That means another one of those guards falling down to the Mavericks. Fascinating. Let me know what you think about Kyrie Irving in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the draft rumors. Do not let me know what you think about my question about Jalen Brunson and the big mistake yesterday. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you have to say about that. I haven't seen Mavericks fans this mad in a while. Go check out the links in the description. Different ways to follow the show. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom. Was just asking.